potential role that cell phones may have in causing brain tumors.
This exponential rise in microwave radiation can have effects, and that's what scientists and medical doctors around the world are now saying.
In other words, it won't affect you, your health.
It'll cause heating,
right?
But that's it.
Mobile phones have undoubtedly revolutionized communication across the globe. As their popularity continues to escalate, there is now growing concern about the effects of radio frequency electromagnetic waves, or RF EMW exposure on biological tissues. There are mixed opinions on whether or not prolonged exposure to wireless devices can have detrimental effects on human health. While some studies show that Wi-Fi can have adverse effects, other reports claim radio frequency signals from wireless networks pose no threat, since they're too low to cause any damage to our systems. But what is the truth? But first, we have to clarify what electromagnetic radiation is. With the increase in handheld devices around the world, electromagnetic radiation, or EMR, has become a concerning new pollution source in modern civilization. It is closely related to human life and originates from various electrical systems like communication base stations, mobile phones, microwave ovens, high-voltage lines, electronic instruments, and similar such electromagnetic equipment. EMR produces various electromagnetic waves of different frequencies, which means there is an increase in EMR intensity in our living spaces. The high-frequency waves have enough energy to cause ionization. Non-ionizing electromagnetic waves, including ultraviolet, infrared, microwave, and radio waves, are predominantly used in daily life, especially radio-frequency electromagnetic fields for communications and the extremely low-frequency EMFs generated by electricity. The biological effects of EMR have attracted considerable attention worldwide. The possible interaction of EMR with human organs, especially the brain, is currently where the most attention is focused. Many studies have shown that the nervous system, in particular, is an important target organ system sensitive to EMR. In recent years, an increasing number of studies have focused on the neurobiological effects of EMR, including the metabolism and transport of neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters play critical roles in cognitive and emotional behavior as messengers of synaptic transmission. It is well understood that the neural circuit is the structural basis of brain function, and the brain works by the interplay of various brain regions and many neurotransmitters. Consequently, the modulatory effect of EMR on neurotransmitter levels in various brain regions may play a critical role in brain functioning. According to several studies, RF EMR, or microwave radiation exposure, can induce the imbalance of amine neurotransmitters in various parts of the brain. Let's take dopamine as an example. Dopamine is a key neurotransmitter in the hypothalamus, mainly responsible for activities relating to reward, learning, emotion, motor control, and executive functions. It also correlates to psychiatric and neurological disorders like Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, and Huntington's disease. Dopamine inhibits the secretion of gonadotropin-releasing hormones, and there's a connection and interaction between the gonadotropin-releasing hormone and dopamine in nerve endings. A deficiency of dopamine in the basal ganglia is seen in patients with Parkinson's. Now, a study conducted on adult rats undergoing daily EMR exposure for an hour with a frequency of 1800 megahertz displayed some interesting results. The exposure induced a significant decrease in dopamine in the hippocampus region after 2 months of exposure, and 1 month after cessation of exposure. The study showed that EMR exposure might reduce dopamine production in the hippocampus, affect arousal, and contribute to decreased learning and memory ability. But the effects don't end there. As a neurotransmitter, norepinephrine is mainly secreted by sympathetic postganglionic neurons and adrenergic nerve endings in the brain. The release of norepinephrine in the brain plays a role in things like stress, attention, sleep, inflammation, and the responses of the autonomic nervous system. After 30 days of continuous EMR exposure for 2 hours a day, the levels of norepinephrine and epinephrine in rat hippocampal tissue were significantly decreased, leading to disturbances and affecting epinephrine content, leading to neurotransmitter production disorders. Low norepinephrine can also lead to conditions like depression, ADHD, and low blood pressure. These effects are lasting, but it definitely isn't limited to the brain and nervous system. Because we, more often than not, carry cell phones in our pockets, there is a considerable impact of EMR on our reproductive organs as well. It is known that wireless radiation causes oxidative stress in our bodies by increasing the production of free radicals. Free radicals are unstable atoms that can cause damage to cells, enabling illness and aging. Increased oxidative stress is also responsible for oxidative damages to cellular macromolecules like proteins, lipids, and your DNA. This fact is also known by phone companies, including Apple, which is why they include a key detail in their user guide.
You need to know that you cannot keep the phone directly next to your body without exceeding the as-tested exposure.
In fact, all smartphones come with information and warnings saying we shouldn't keep our phones in our pockets, or we will exceed the as-tested exposure. The effect of microwave radiation emitted from mobile phones on male reproductive hormones in human subjects was reported in 3 major studies. One of them studied subjects for a duration between 4 weeks to nearly 6 years. Subjects with a history of smoking, stressful work conditions, and systemic diseases were excluded from all of them. The testosterone level after RF EMR exposure from a mobile phone was reported differently in all 3 studies. In a long-term 6-year survey conducted by a Skander team involving volunteers, testosterone levels showed a gradual decrease with growing exposure time. The most notable decrease occurred after 6 years of exposure. Another study with a shorter duration of mobile phone exposure spanning 4 weeks found no substantial changes in testosterone level in the case of Jaredon and team. The study by Gucci and team of men attending infertility clinics found that mobile phone users have remarkably high testosterone levels, but the exact duration of their exposure was not revealed. In the same study, though, the exposed group had a considerable decrease in luteinizing hormone, or LH levels. A deficiency in LH levels can cause a variety of problems, including infertility, low sex drives, and early or delayed puberty in children. Similarly, in the case of female reproductive health, radiation exposure has been shown to reduce the production of estrogen and progesterone, which enables reproduction, and lowered LH levels, also leading to the inability to get pregnant and irregular menstruation cycles. It's not just us that gets impacted by our use of mobile phones, though. In a study conducted on baby rats, Dr. Devra Davis talks about the effects of prenatal exposure.
This article was published in Brain Research, which is a relatively high-impact journal, and what they showed was that prenatally exposed newborns have basically fewer cells in the hippocampus. Here's the exposed, missing some cells, and here are the controls, which they're compared with. And what they found was that newborns that had been exposed took 3 times as long to find their way out of an experimental maze and made twice as many errors.
In addition, the rats prenatally exposed to this radiation displayed higher anxiety, worse memory, and increased hyperactivity. But more than the concern around reproductive health and brain health, people are concerned over a piece of news that has been circulating for decades. Does wireless radiation cause cancer? In the same speech, Dr. Davis talks about a woman who, after years of keeping her cell phone in her bra, saw some disturbing results.
And here I want to show you our first case report from 2009, and we now have many more. This was a Chinese-American woman who used her cell phone 4 hours a day in her bra for 10 years while she was driving.
When you drive with a phone in your car, your phone is constantly traveling from one cell tower to another, signaling its location to every tower each time.
And it's going to say, here I am, where are you, here I am. And it's going to be going to max power each time it moves from one cell tower to another. And there it was right next to her chest. And the tumors that developed right under the antenna of the phone.
The World Health Organization, after reviewing much of the work conducted in this field, decided that mobile phone radiation was a possible carcinogen. If you start using mobile phones before the age of 20, which is often the case today, you are 4 to 8 times more likely to develop brain cancer after 10 years. However, given the state of the world today, it's impossible to cut off from mobile phones entirely. How do we protect ourselves from EMR when it's all around us, everywhere we go? Many health committees around the world are already advocating for the public to be educated on the risks of keeping your phones constantly on your person or using it excessively throughout the day. If your work requires you to be on calls a lot, consider using earphones or putting the phone on speaker mode so you can keep the device away from your body while you use it. When you know you won't be using your phone for a while, like when you're cooking or sleeping, make it a habit to switch to airplane mode or keep the phone in another room altogether. These small practices can ensure a long and healthy life, both physically and mentally, and will go a long way in helping us disconnect from a world that is forever switched on. Like this video? Then subscribe to the Be Inspired channel and be sure to click the bell icon so you never miss a video. We upload educational and motivational content that aims to entertain and inform you about the world. Thanks for watching.